How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going over my top 5 highlights for the week. 5 things I noticed throughout the week that really caught my eye and I wanted to go over today. Now, I'm starting with Mourinho's place at Spurs. Over the weekend, they played Everton and lost 1-0, which I called, by the way. Go check out my prediction video. I called it. I also called the fact that James Rodriguez was going to have a game for Everton and prove why they would want him. Regardless, from what I could tell, they looked boring and uninspiring, which for me is Mourinho in a nutshell in recent times. I feel like he was a quick decision for Spurs and a decision that could cost them some really important points in the future. I think that he is not at all what Spurs need. I'm not a Spurs fan, but I do like having as much competition as possible in the Premier League, and for the longest, Spurs have been a team to fear, I guess you could say. You know, when you go against them, you take them seriously, but now I feel like it's not the same. You don't feel that same kind of fear playing Spurs. They've fallen off. And I think Mourinho's a big part of that. I feel as though his style of play is very outdated. It's slow, defensive, not at all up to speed with the normal style of play you see around, Europe especially. Nowadays, the style of play is very fast, not only in the player's pace, but also in the play. How fast can you go from back to front? That's the style of play nowadays. Mourinho's is nowhere near that, and it's very defensive and very slow. Meanwhile, Everton came out and brought it to Spurs, and they paid because of that. Now, I think Mourinho is just old school, too old school, and he seemingly just refuses to change. And I say old school, really, it's just like 10 years ago when his style of play was, the way to play. But I think Spurs need to move on, and I could very much see, the next 10 games, them losing like 5 or 6, and by the last loss, Mourinho's out. I think they just don't want to find another manager right now, but for long-term success, they need to find another manager now in order to really get back into the Big Six, because in my opinion, they're an outlier right now from the Big Six. The Big Six being Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Liverpool, and formerly Spurs, but I feel like Spurs are an outlier. And I know they got 6 last season, but that was mostly because the teams around them couldn't keep up and collapsed. So I think they have to let go of Mourinho and find someone who can lead them in this new era. I think Mourinho also talks a bit too much from a publicity standpoint. I think he complains a lot, especially after a loss. He tends to shift the blame on everything else but his team's problems. Or he'll blame it on something else and then say, oh, but our team wasn't great. I think from a publicity standpoint, he's also not a great manager. He tends to talk a lot in his press conferences and not positively. And I think he criticizes his players too much and not in a constructive way. He tends to just bring them down without really leaving any sort of room for improvement. He just brings them down. And there's a time and place for criticism, there is. But the way he does it is just demoralizing, in my opinion. I mean, who knows? Maybe the players react differently at Spurs. Maybe they need that criticism. They need to be told that they suck, or they sucked, or they're not performing at all in order to pump themselves up. But I think that's another part, is from a publicity standpoint. I just think Spurs need to move on from Mourinho as soon as possible. Moving on to my second highlight for the week. Staying on topic with Spurs, I chose Bale potentially leaving on loan to Spurs. Gareth Bale from Real Madrid, for those of you who don't know, which he's been all over the headlines for the last year. But I think that'd be a good move for both sides. It's getting Bale out. Real Madrid won't have to pay his full wage for him just to sit on the bench again this season, which seemingly was a sort of mutual thing. Real Madrid didn't want to play him, and he didn't really want to play for Real Madrid. So him going to Spurs, I think he'll get some game time. Spurs are getting a proven player. Real Madrid gets to lose, and well, not necessarily. They get to again cut the wages and don't really have to deal with the drama for the whole season. For a while, for me, it felt like Bale was just at Real Madrid for the money. It didn't really feel like he even wanted to play. Now, that could come down to his situation and what was going on. He did say that he still wants to play, and he's still fired up about the sport, and he cares about it, and he has passion for it, which told me, you know what, maybe it really was Real Madrid who was kind of screwing him over. But I think this is a good move for both sides. I'm only bringing this up in my highlights purely because of everything that has surrounded it for the last year, all the drama that has been around this. Gareth Bale for the last year and a half, going back to the last summer transfer window when he almost went to the Chinese Super League, then that fell through, and ever since then he's been in the headlines. Where is he gonna go? Why is he still at Madrid? He's not even in it for, the sport anymore, this and that. And, I think this would be a good move for him, a good move for Real Madrid at the end of the day. Moving on to my third highlight. What was that? Messi returned for Real Madrid returned for Barcelona in a friendly. He had a 45-minute showing earlier in the week in another friendly, and then today on the September 16th, he showed up in a friendly against Girona, scoring a pretty great goal. In the process, what I want to cover for Messi is the fact that he topped the Forbes list for the highest paid soccer players. Now, the one reason why I wanted to bring this up, big highlight of the summer, Messi potentially leaving Barcelona. And my biggest thing was I didn't think a team should inherit his $100 million a year price tag or wages. And, well, it got proven here. He topped it with making $126 million overall, $92 million towards his salary, $34 million from endorsements. I just think that teams should not be paying as much for him. And I love Messi. Don't get me wrong. I love the guy. I do. He's one of my favorite players of all time. But I just think he's not going to guarantee you trophies anymore. And paying $100 million a year for him is a lot, especially since he's going to be 34. He might already be 34. I think he's still 33. But he's going to be 34, and we all know Juventus really brought in Ronaldo for the Champions League, and look at them. I don't even think they got past the quarterfinals. So these two huge behemoths in this last generation have been unable to guarantee trophies anymore. I feel like they're past that part in their career, and that's why I think that money is just too much for a player who can't guarantee you anything anymore. Now, quickly, before I move on, to round out the top 5 of the Forbes list, you had, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo, $117 million, 70 towards salary, 47 from endorsements. Neymar in third, $96 million, 78 from salary, 18 from endorsements. Mbappe, $42 million, 28 million from salary, 14 from endorsements. Mohamed Salah, $37 million, 24 million from salary, 13 from endorsements. Now, so another thing I wanted to point out is the gap. So you have Messi to Ronaldo is about 9 million. Ronaldo to Neymar is about 20. Am I counting that right? Yeah, 21 million. Then from Neymar to Mbappe is 54 million of how much they're bringing in, and then Mbappe to Salah is only 5. I say only, it's still millions. But I think that's crazy how much, the top 3 right now are earning. It's mind-blowing how much players earn nowadays. Now, I brought up Mbappe because my fourth highlight from the week is the rumor that Mbappe could be leaving PSG at the end of the season. Supposedly, he is targeting a move to a Premier League club or La Liga club, which is more or less expected. I feel like that's where a lot of the big players are going in recent times, in particular the Premier League. Now, in terms of teams who could potentially sign him, City, maybe Chelsea if they still got money in the bank, maybe Liverpool, but I feel like teams will break the bank for him. Real Madrid, obviously another one. I don't know about Barcelona. I don't think they'll have the funds anymore with everything that's happened due to the coronavirus. Mbappe still has 2 years left on his current deal, so if he leaves next summer, teams are gonna have to pay a lot of money for him. I believe the biggest was Neymar, obviously, but I think it was about 222 million. It's either dollars or pounds. Either way, that is a lot of money. And I mean, a lot of money that teams are about to pay for Mbappe, and he's a player who could guarantee you trophies, who's probably going to bring it Holland at least 45 goals a season. At the rate he's going, he's only improving, he's only getting better. He's still 20 years old, I think. He's got like a good at least 10 to 15 years left. So whoever gets him is going to have to shell out a lot, but in my opinion, it's going to be really worth it. There's been no word from Mbappe at all. Nothing regarding the rumors. This is all rumors, so take it with a grain of salt. Without Mbappe, PSG are going to struggle, in my opinion. I mean, they still have Neymar, but he is getting older and older, and the squad seemingly is aging. So it's tough to call PSG's future without him. I don't think they're a guaranteed, Champions League contender. At least the team that was guaranteed to make it to at least the semifinals of the Champions League without him. And it's going to be interesting if he really does move on, what PSG do and how they respond. Because they're going to have a lot of money in the bank if Mbappe does move on. So it'll be interesting the moves they make afterwards. Now for my fifth highlight, speaking of PSG, we are going to go over that game, PSG versus Marseille. Now Marseille won 1-0. This is an intense rivalry in Ligue 1, and it fit the bill. So throughout the game, I think Florian Thauvin scored in the 33rd minute. I wish I had written down in my notes, but I didn't. So he scores, and for the most part, the game is a bit dicey. It's a bit here, there. But then in the end, a brawl happens, and that stems from a little tussle between Leandro Paredes of PSG and Benedetto of Marseille. They get into a bit of a tussle, and it just explodes from there. As a result, there were 5 red cards. I believe it was Neymar, Kurzawa, and Amavi who got the immediate red cards, and then after VAR and all that, Paredes and Benedetto both got red cards alongside them. It's Neymar, Paredes, Kurzawa for PSG, Benedetto, and Amavi for Marseille. There were also 4 yellow cards for PSG and 6 for Marseille. Now, after all the brawl, after the ref got it under control, he issued all the cards, this, and that. The game continued on. PSG had only 8 players. Marseille closed out with 9, and Marseille were able to close out the game, getting a big 1-0 victory for their team. PSG are currently sitting in the relegation zone still. I didn't see the result from today's game, so they could very well be out if they've won it. But they were in the relegation zone, which is crazy to see a team like PSG sitting there. Now, the big story is what happens afterwards. Neymar, after the game, came out and said that Gonzalez, his name is, I believe, Alvaro Gonzalez, a center back from Marseille, said a racist remark towards him being Neymar. Now, to quote Neymar here, VAR spotting my attack is easy. Now I want to see it pick up the image of the racist calling me a monkey son of a bitch. That's what I want to see. And then I do a rainbow flick. You punish me for a slap. I get sent off. What about them? What then? Now, immediately in these sort of situations, I do tend to back the player who is accusing, whether it be they're accusing the crowd of saying something racist or a player. I'm a lot more supportive when they accuse a crowd, because unfortunately it's more likely that a crowd said it. If it's a single player, I am still hesitant. I will support that player being Neymar in this situation. I am still a little tentative. I do want to see, both investigations that are going on. I think Marseille and PSG launched their own independent. I may be incredibly wrong on that. I think Ligue 1 definitely did. I'm still tentative. I want to see what happens. I want to see, some evidence and some things. One thing that really pushed me towards Neymar a little bit more was the fact that he was caught on a pitch side mic making the accusation to the fourth official almost immediate, not necessarily immediately, but very shortly after, which kind of tells me that something definitely was said. For Neymar to just have that reaction, you have to be a really evil person to make that sort of accusation towards someone, to paint them in that light. So that's why I think that Neymar is telling the truth. It's just a very dicey situation. Now, Alvaro Gonzalez's response was, after the game, he defended himself, saying, "There's no place for racism, a clean career, and with many teammates and friends on a day-to-day basis." This also had a picture of him with his teammates at Marseille. And to continue the quote, "Sometimes you have to learn how to lose and accept it on the field. Incredible 3 points today." Now, essentially what he's saying there is that Neymar is a sore loser. And he's just making this up because he's a sore loser and he can't handle that. Now, that's a bit harsh in my opinion. I think Neymar would have to be a really bad person to make that sort of accusation just because he lost. I don't think he's that type of person. I don't think he has that kind of sort of ego, I guess you could say. I don't know who. I'm going to back Neymar, but again, very tentatively. I want to see some evidence. I want to see something come out of this. Now, also, I do not agree with what happened to Alvaro Gonzalez. According to his manager, to the Marseille manager, Andres Villas-Boas, he has received death threats over the situation. Now, I don't agree with that. I really don't. I don't think that's necessary. I think that the correct steps are being taken right now to figure out what really happened. Now, obviously, Alvaro Gonzalez is going to deny it. He's going to deny it. And Neymar's going to push it. So the question is, who has more substantial evidence? Or rather, if there's not enough evidence towards it being true, then Gonzalez is going to get off. And unfortunately, we may never know whether or not he truly said what he said. And he can get off with a clean sheet, not with a clean conscience, but he gets off free. And I'm gonna back Neymar in this one, purely again because he immediately said it afterwards that this is what happened. Again, I'm gonna be very cautious with this one, very tentative. Again, keep using that word because it's a serious issue, and I just don't think Neymar would do that to try and ruin someone's reputation and what light they're shown in. It's a really tough situation, but as a result of the Neymar slapping Alvaro Gonzalez in the back of the head, he is looking at a potential 4-game ban. It's a serious issue, both sides. He did say that I shouldn't have done that. But when you're in the heat of the moment and someone says something that really gets to you, you kind of just react. You do react. Again, I'm also not backing Neymar's, hating him. But you do, and it was a very heated moment that occurred right there. And both sides were in the wrong, with Neymar hitting him and with Alvaro Gonzalez potentially making that statement or what he said. But I think we just need to keep watching, keep monitoring the situation, see what comes out of it. I really hope that the right answer comes out of this. It's a really tough situation. When you're dealing with racism in soccer, it's become more apparent in recent times, unfortunately, and I think that this needs to be handled very carefully because you're kind of holding a player's career in the balance here as well. Again, Alvaro Gonzalez's reputation is on the line. That's why I'm backing Neymar. I really don't think he's the type of guy that would make that sort of accusation. But hopefully these investigations do result in some kind of positive outcome for both sides. Well, actually, no. If it turns out Alvaro Gonzalez said it, then no, I hope he doesn't get a positive outcome. But, I hope the right result comes out of this. And we're able to keep building towards a game without hate. I think this will be another step in that goal. So, after that heavy topic, those are my top 5 highlights from the week. That PSG Marseille game in particular, I had to cover that, and especially the results of it and what's come out of it, you know, accusations and things like that. Hopefully it wasn't too down for you guys, but it is a serious topic that I did want to cover and give my opinion on, because I think it is something that does plague the game right now. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Go check out my socials. My Instagram is @BlueHermit_. My Twitter is BlueHermit1. Please share the socials with all your friends, family, everybody you know. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.